At the close of the 6-year plan, Eastern Europe continues to be at the center of Baha'i teaching activities. Albania has recently joined the growing list of countries where the Baha'i faith is spreading rapidly. 1,200 people embraced the faith during a single week of intensive teaching through several concerts by the touring musical group El Viento Canta. In November, some 250 Baha'is gathered in the port city of Durrës for the first national teaching conference to consult on how best to guide the process of community growth in this very receptive country.
And with this recognition, there are two things. One thing that we are to do, to recognize the divine teacher and to be obedient to his teachings.
Less than a year ago, there were just 6 Baha'is. Today, through a combination of efforts by the Albanian Teaching Committee and visitors from Italy, Germany, and Switzerland, there are more than 3,000.
Then it tells the story of Baha'u'llah's life, different years of his life.
Some interesting discoveries have been made in the course of these visits. This woman's mother first learned of the faith in 1929 from the famous Baha'i traveling teacher, Martha Root. Her tattered photograph of this early encounter is now a precious national treasure. Initiatives on the professional level have also been warmly received. This group of visiting Baha'i doctors found hospital personnel as curious about their religion as they were about their medical knowledge. The people sometimes apologize that they haven't heard of the faith sooner.
See, we don't have anything here. No journals, no books. For the first time 3 months ago, we learned about the faith.
Baha'is from the Landegg Academy in Switzerland have also been involved on the professional level. The Albanian Ministry of Education recently invited the Academy to co-sponsor a series of national symposia on moral education. Over 600 educators attended the first conferences, and more high-level meetings are scheduled to follow. Albania now has 10 local spiritual assemblies and will elect its own national assembly this Rizvan.
It was interesting, this gentleman came for the first night of the concert. He presents us with a book from 1932, copy of Baha'u'llah in the New Era.
In neighboring Bulgaria, the Baha'i faith is being discussed everywhere, in apartment houses and ballrooms, concert halls and street corners, as another nation facing difficult times opens to the teachings of Baha'u'llah. Baha'i public meetings generate much interest. Several have been covered by national television crews. A number of government officials have also responded favorably to the Baha'i teachings. Some, including the mayor of Pleven, have offered direct assistance to the Baha'is.
And he said, I'll provide halls for you, contacts, transportation, in all the villages, as he put it, villages of 50, probably 60,000 people. And he said, anything you need, you'll have it, because this message has to be spread.
Recent teaching projects have been dedicated to the first European Baha'i to give his life for the faith, George Adam Benke, a German Baha'i pioneer who passed away in Sofia in 1932. The response to the recent teaching has nearly doubled the size of the Baha'i community. Now, with over 300 Baha'is and 9 local spiritual assemblies, Bulgaria will also elect its first national spiritual assembly this Rizvan. On the other side of the globe, representatives from 19 Baha'i national communities met in Macau to discuss methods of bringing the Baha'i teachings to the hundreds of millions of Chinese people living all over the world.
When they are hearing the Baha'i message in any form, in any way, through action, through talk, through whatever way that you give to them, the light of hope is coming alive and you see in their faces and in their eyes so much hope and so much looking forward for future.
During the conference, many plans were developed to spread the Baha'i message among the Chinese population scattered abroad, as well as to the populations of Macau and Hong Kong. Sean Hinton, a young Australian who recently settled in Mongolia as its first Baha'i pioneer, talked about the particular opportunities of the present time.
There is the opportunity now to tell somebody for the first time about Baha'u'llah. That's the most important moment. Can you imagine to share that for the first time with someone, to say, you know, have you heard of Baha'u'llah? And that soul goes, God, thank God, I've been waiting 55 years to hear that, you know?
Over 50 participants spontaneously pledged to devote themselves to the teaching work throughout the coming Holy Year. On the Chinese mainland, a visit by Baha'i architect Firebor Sahba also generated a great deal of interest.
The stone is fixed with 4 stainless steel detail.
Mr. Sahba was invited to lecture extensively about his award-winning design of the Baha'i House of Worship in New Delhi, India, drawing eager audiences of architects, students, journalists, and others in 4 major cities, including Beijing and Shanghai. Mr. Sahba was interviewed on China television in Macau, and the documentary Jewel in the Lotus was screened in all the cities he visited on the mainland. It was subsequently broadcast to an estimated audience of 10 million, and the Chinese language version is being prepared for even wider use. The Baha'is of Hawaii recently sponsored a 2-week peace and friendship tour of mainland China, consolidating many friendships they've developed with individual Chinese over the past few years. The group was warmly welcomed in China. Upon landing, they were given T-shirts officially identifying them as Baha'is, which many wore openly throughout the tour.
The people of Hawaii extend our aloha.
In Shanghai, China's largest city, the Baha'i delegation was welcomed at the Foreign Affairs Office. They presented the Deputy Director of Foreign Affairs with a proclamation from the Governor of Hawaii and exchanged gifts on behalf of the Baha'i communities of the Pacific region. The visit was packed with opportunities for the Baha'is to build bridges of friendship and to celebrate the marvelous diversity of cultures in the Pacific region.
15 days ago, we met as strangers, but now we are going to say goodbye as family and friends. I think we are all from one family.
For 15 years, the Baha'is of Laos have been largely cut off from the rest of the Baha'i world. Now the isolation is easing and visitors are finding a flourishing Baha'i community. Baha'i schools and children's classes are thriving in key centers throughout the country. Taught mostly by Baha'i youth, the classes in the capital city of Vientiane are attended by as many as 120 children. Persuaded by the pure motives of the Baha'is, government officials have granted permission for teachers to travel the countryside in service to the faith, and have allowed visits from Baha'is outside the country on a more regular basis. In neighboring Thailand, the peaceful scenery masks conditions of intense human suffering. Thousands of Cambodian refugees have been living here in temporary camps for over 7 years. Unperturbed by the hardships, the Baha'is among them have taught the faith to others, elected their own spiritual assemblies, organized cottage industries, and built finely decorated local centers in each camp.
Nhân chia sa sanik, nhân chia sa sanik, nhân chia sa sanik Bahai.
Study classes for adults, youth, and children are very popular. Puran Stevens, coordinator of the U.S. Baha'i Refugee Office, recently visited the camps.
They learn about Baha'u'llah and the teachings of Baha'i faith. And also they are very happy. They come with some clothes. Usually they borrow or whatever they have, they wear their best clothes to come to the Baha'i classes. They all recognize Abdu'l-Baha's picture and the greatest name. And every camp that I went and every hut that I entered, the greatest name was the highest point of that room. And this is a sign of respect that they have.
The Hmong Baha'is in the camps are very active in service to their fellow refugees and have a deep appreciation for the international character of the faith.
I will say hello to all Baha'i friends in the United States as well as around the world that I cannot meet them face by face, but I hope that they can see my voice and maybe saw me in the picture.
Some will be resettled in other lands. Most look forward to the time when they can return home to teach the faith in their own country.
I just keep praying to God and maybe peace comes soon and we can unite it together and we see all friends Baha'i in Cambodia as well as around the world and to be a very strong Baha'i and to be change the life of the Cambodian people.
At another level, these camps are a sign of the larger processes at work in the world. One of the most tragic byproducts of the disintegration and chaos of the present age is the massive displacement of large populations in many parts of the world. The year-end report of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees places the number of refugees and displaced persons at 35 million people. With increasing frequency, local Baha'i communities are finding themselves caught in the turmoil. In the war-torn West African country of Liberia, entire village communities were forced from their homes and fled for refuge into the Tulipla region of the neighboring Ivory Coast. The combination of language and tribal differences, widespread unemployment, and insufficient resources created an atmosphere of potential conflict between the Liberian refugees and the villagers of the region. The Baha'i refugees kept their assemblies intact, and through wise and unified efforts were soon able to ease the tensions. In these remote areas, far from the influence of any relief effort, the Baha'i spirit of cooperation can be seen everywhere. The village chiefs and elders have been particularly impressed by the courtesy shown to them by the Baha'is.
And you're happy that Baha'i faith is a good religion. They love it, and from now on they are happy even for the Baha'i faith to establish in this town so great like this.
To uplift the spirits, the Baha'is have encouraged traditional songs and dances, customs that are especially comforting when one is far away from home. The activities are so popular, the Baha'is have had to erect large structures to accommodate the growing crowds at Baha'i events, and many guests have become Baha'is.
I remember the last time we had a program, we wanted to dedicate one of the centers, we had 80 persons that got up to declare and said Baha'u'llah, 80 persons at a time.
Observing the rapid expansion of the faith in the area, one government official remarked that the Baha'is would soon outgrow a newly built local center.
You made the building too small. And he said, well, the people not much, but I know that they're going to increase this building in the future.
It is a testament to the strength and devotion of the local Baha'i community that the faith is growing so rapidly in this remote frontier where there is only very limited contact with the National Spiritual Assembly or the Continental Board of Counselors.
I'm very grateful for the opportunity to talk about activities of the friends here, because these friends here have done wonderful things here. They deserve a lot of commendation for what they have achieved thus far in this place.
These Baha'is face a daily struggle to survive. Yet in just a year and a half, this handful of refugees has grown into a multi-ethnic community of over 800 believers, 21 local spiritual assemblies, 18 children's classes, and 10 Baha'i centers.
Now, this village is going to be the center of Baha'i activities, and they are going to become like Paul. They are going to take the word of Baha'u'llah and teach it.
The latest developments are agricultural projects run by the Baha'i youth.
As you can see, these potatoes, we intended to plant more here. We have the upland area where we plant beta ball, okra, peppers. You know, when the things come out, we try to help our community to grow. You know, so as a Baha'is, as you know, I told you from the beginning that we are hardworking people. So we believe to do something for ourselves, let people see it.
These seemingly helpless Baha'i refugees, aided only by their vision, their unity, and the practical teachings of their faith, have in their exile won admiration, respect, and genuine friendship.
I believe that Baha'i faith is a truthful religion. And when he came to us, he told us, well, the Baha'i faith that come here, the center that we come in to open is a center that bringing blessing to this town. And I believe through that's truth.
In the world at large, refugees are widely seen as a tremendous problem, an object of pity or irritation. These Baha'is have created progress, unity, and peace, bringing honor to their faith and winning the pride, respect, and loving admiration of their fellow believers everywhere. The architectural achievements of Hand of the Cause of God, William Sutherland Maxwell, and his brother Edward are being featured in a formal exhibit touring Canada this year. The brothers designed many prominent public buildings in the classical style. Abdu'l-Baha Ruhiya Khanum, the daughter of William Sutherland Maxwell, was an honored guest at the formal opening of the exhibit in Montreal. She described the spirit of craftsmanship which permeated her father's architectural design.
My father could do anything at all with his hands. I have never seen anybody with such an aptitude for creating things. He not only could draw beautifully, he etched, he painted in oils, he painted in water, and he would take the chisel out of the hand of the mason and do what he called sweeten the curves with his own hand.
The exhibit features architectural drawings, photographs, and models of many of the Maxwell firm's best-known works, including the designs for the Shrine of the Bab in Haifa. While in Canada, Ruhiya Khanum stopped in Toronto to encourage the Baha'is.
We should be always very happy to be Baha'is, very grateful that when the people of the world don't know, most of them, why they're here, they don't know what they are. They don't know, lots of people today, that they have a soul. They don't believe in a soul. They don't know that they have a life after death. Why would they believe they had a life after death if they don't even think they have a spiritual quality called a soul? We have such blessings as Baha'is. We have such powers as Baha'is to offer humanity and to offer other people this wonderful message of Baha'u'llah.
Good morning. My name is Anissa Kintz, and welcome to Calling All Colors.
In the United States, a Baha'i child is leading local efforts towards racial harmony in South Carolina. Fourth grader Anissa Kintz and some of her friends organized a conference entitled Calling All Colors to teach their fellow students about unity and diversity.
You think you might know whose hands these are?
The conference was a great success and attracted the attention of the local media. Anissa told a television reporter about the aims of the conference.
We're doing something, but we're also hoping that the kids that have benefited from the conference goes and tells their friends about it, and then if those friends listen and those friends tell other friends, that it'll be sort of like a chain reaction. They'll go on and on and on, and they'll do some of the teaching for us.
In Atlanta, Georgia, the Baha'is have become a familiar sight at the annual Martin Luther King Day parade.
Fitting tribute to the day.
The Baha'i faith was the only religion mentioned in the national television broadcast of the event, which the Baha'is supported for the 7th year in a row.
The Baha'i faith and its world community. The Baha'i faith is an independent world religion with adherents in virtually every country. Its membership includes 4.5 million people living in more than 118,000 localities in over 200 countries and territories.
National Spiritual Assembly Secretary Robert Henderson was a co-grand marshal of the parade. Also present was retired member of the Universal House of Justice, Mr. David Hoffman. Dr. Henderson later spoke at a rally to an audience estimated at 100,000 people.
The Baha'i faith in which I believe teaches that the fundamental solution to racial and ethnic conflict rests ultimately in the common recognition of the oneness of mankind. Baha'u'llah, the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, taught us that the well-being of mankind, its peace and security, are unattainable unless and until its unity is firmly established.
An Atlanta television station invited Mr. Hoffman for an interview.
I'm visiting all the Baha'i communities of North America, including Canada and Alaska, doing my best. They're trying to proclaim the name of Baha'u'llah to the whole of mankind, because we believe that this is a new message from God. This is the day promised in all the holy books of the world and all the religions of the world, when God will send his great messenger to establish the brotherhood of man, peace on earth. Some of Baha'u'llah's texts or writings to the kings and rulers of the world in the 19th century, like to Queen Victoria and the Pope and the heads of the religions, the earth is but one country and mankind its citizens.
He's known as the father of bebop, an icon of jazz, and a veritable musical legend. He is also a Baha'i. For the past 2 years, Dizzy Gillespie has been tirelessly touring the world with his United Nations Orchestra, using his unique musical talents to summon the world to peace and unity. A recent Latin American tour included a date in Santiago, Chile, where his concert was broadcast on national television. While there, Dizzy took time out of his busy schedule to visit with the local Baha'is. He also told of introducing the Ugandan Hand of the Cause, Enoch Alinga, to a nightclub audience in Harlem.
Alinga was so majestic. The people stood up and applauded for him and didn't even know who he was.
With characteristic generosity, the great virtuoso thrilled the local Baha'i musicians by joining in their impromptu jam session. John Burks Gillespie is fittingly recognized as one of the great innovators of the jazz world. Today, at 72 years of age, rather than resting on his laurels, he keeps an exhausting schedule, tirelessly promoting the oneness of mankind. The unaccompanied human voice has a unique ability to penetrate the soul. A cappella singing is the only music performed in Baha'i houses of worship. It is therefore destined to develop into new heights of artistic expression. At present, however, Baha'i choral singing is still in its infancy. Most groups are small. Many have difficulty meeting in one place long enough to rehearse the songs together. In Canada, an innovative project has been launched to stimulate the development of Baha'i choirs. With the encouragement of the Universal House of Justice and the assistance of the Continental Counselors, 19 Baha'i songs were professionally recorded in Toronto, Canada. Initially, the recordings are intended to provide a reference for the rehearsals of the hundreds of singers worldwide who will form the choir at the Second Baha'i World Congress. But the recording project is designed to have effects far beyond November 1992.
So this is a tradition which over the next 1,000 years will be developed, and we feel that this is a kind of a historic starting point to have this music recorded, because it is used already in many of the temples around the world.
And one of the main purposes of the whole project is to start Baha'i choirs all over the world. And this project has been recorded in such a way that the Baha'is can not only buy the recording to listen to, but they can also buy what we call a choir starters kit. And this has individual recordings of each of the separate parts, an individual bass part, a tenor part, an alto and a soprano. And this is the actual individual singers that are on the recording. And Baha'is can take this in their own local communities, and they can learn just to sing the bass part or just the tenor and so on, and they can all come together having learned their parts and sing in 4-part harmony exactly as they hear on the recording.
The city of Akka, on the northern end of the Bay of Haifa, is poised for a significant transformation. When Baha'u'llah arrived in 1871, it was the most remote penal outpost of the Ottoman Empire, the most pestilential of cities, reviled and hopeless. For centuries, the city had been a powerful fortress, once a Crusader stronghold, later the site of Napoleon's defeat. It was here in the prison fortress that the sufferings of Baha'u'llah reached their zenith, threatening to stifle this infant faith. It was here where a few years later, Baha'u'llah revealed the laws of his dispensation in the Kitab-i-Aqdas. It was here where Abdu'l-Baha met the first Western pilgrims and later faced his greatest perils. The restoration of Akka began when the ancient Roman aqueduct was repaired at Baha'u'llah's request to bring fresh water to the residents of the city. To the people of Akka, Abdu'l-Baha, though a prisoner, came to be known as the father of the poor. Later, the house of Abud, where Baha'u'llah lived under house arrest for 7 years, was lovingly beautified by Shoghi Effendi. The complex known as the House of Abdullah Pasha has been meticulously restored and is now visited by pilgrims. In recent years, the government of Israel and numerous foreign experts have become increasingly interested in the preservation and restoration of the city. In December, an international conference entitled The Preservation of a Living Medieval City focused additional attention on Akka. Baha'i restoration professionals at the World Center participated actively in the discussions with experts from Italy, Israel, Belgium, Hungary, Turkey, and the United States. One half day of the conference was devoted to visiting area sites restored by the Baha'is. One participant said he was dazzled by the spirit and beauty emanating from the Baha'i holy places. The initiatives associated with the conference are intended to develop plans that will restore and preserve the historic character of Old Akka for future generations. The Baha'i world has begun its commemoration of a holy year marking the centenary of the passing of Baha'u'llah and the inauguration of his covenant, one of the truly unique features of the Baha'i religion. For Baha'is, this year is a time for meditation and solemn reflection upon the meaning of the life of Baha'u'llah. In recognition of this special time, we close with the following thoughts, collected from the Baha'i youth.
The faith isn't something that you do similar to whatever sport you partake in or whatever occupation that you belong to. It's something that consumes your entire life and adds direction to every breath that you take.
With the coming of Baha'u'llah, he changed everything. He channeled everything and gave the youth so much importance, so much power.
And as Baha'is, what Baha'u'llah has given us is a message of uniting the world.
And I think we should take every single opportunity we have to take advantage of that and just to feel it and be it.
By the end of the decade, there isn't going to be one person on earth that has not heard of Baha'u'llah, you know? And what that means is that we're going to be the last people that have the opportunity to tell someone about Baha'u'llah for the first time.
To me, it's like stepping into a new world with the same people.
The world is going to tilt, and we have to be ready to be stable.
When a volcano blows out, you see nothing to be the same afterwards.
Because people would be walking up to us in the street and saying, who's Baha'u'llah? Why is the world changing like this? Who is this person you're telling us about? You know, what is his mission? Tell me about his revelation. And we have to have the answers.
There could be no better time to take a service project and no time at which you will be more sure to have the blessings of Baha'u'llah than if you were to go off to serve his name during his holy year.
When we have children and grandchildren, they're going to be turning around and saying,
"Whoa, you taught before everyone knew about it? Yeah? Oh, you're so lucky." And I think we should be taking advantage of this right now and to study more about Baha'u'llah.
Every single Baha'i must get involved in this because it is so important, because it's such an important part of history, moment in history, and we all have to be ready to bear the weight of this great age.
The hand of the cause of God, William Sears, passed away on March 25th at his home in Tucson, Arizona, leaving a legacy of service that shall long be remembered throughout the Baha'i world. As a young man, Mr. Sears launched a successful career as a radio sportscaster and television personality. In the early 1950s, he produced and hosted In the Park and Kid Gloves for CBS television. His nationwide CBS Football Roundup was named the Outstanding Sports Show of the Year. In 1953, his colleagues were astonished by his decision to abandon this celebrity in favor of a life as a Baha'i pioneer in Africa. Appointed a Hand of the Cause of God in 1957, Mr. Sears spent years traveling to all parts of the world in the service of the Baha'i faith. Numerous books flowed from his pen. Despite many years of painful and debilitating illness, he continued to travel to meet and encourage the Baha'is until the very end of his life. William Sears inspired deep love and affection among countless people. This love will be expressed in thousands of memorial gatherings worldwide, just as it was at his funeral in Tucson.
O ye apostles of Baha'u'llah, the Master said to those of us in the West, consider how exalted and lofty is the station you are destined to attain. The full measure of your success is as yet unrevealed, its significance unapprehended. Your mission is unspeakably glorious.
And all you have to do in these days is arise and say, Baha'u'llah, here I am, use me, and things, wonderful things you never dreamed of will happen.
Out of love, they leave their homes, their jobs, everything, go out into all parts of the world, breaking new ground, sacrificing their time, their own resources, sometimes their very lives because of their love for Baha'u'llah.
Baba wetu Mohamed wa tetelela bantwana bakho ngokupiga mazwi akho avela ezulwini. Baba wetu Jesu Kristu tetelela bantwana bakho ngokupiga mazwi akho avela ezulwini. Baba wetu Baha'u'llah, tetelela bantwana bakho ngokupiga mazwi akho avela ezulwini. Baba wetu Baha'u'llah, tetelela bantwana bakho ngokupiga mazwi akho.
Please remember me in your prayers.
Abantwana